Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/Tales from Retail. And it's time for another set of stories about crazy people. But before we start, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Destroys his own order, blames me, I don't even know who you are. I work in the bakery at a large chain grocery store. I don't make cakes or cupcakes, but I do hand over orders to customers when they come to pick them up. Like most days, I was by myself, no department manager. This guy comes in and says he's here to pick up an order. Fine, I ask him for his name and he tells me he ordered 30 rose cupcakes in a full sheet box. I wheel them out to him on our rolling table. He picks them up and drops them into his cart, just dumps them. He gets mad and blames me for dropping them. He then starts yelling at me because the cupcakes weren't exactly how he ordered them, and that he needed them to be exactly right for his significant other. He insists I took the order, which was weird because the order wasn't in my handwriting. I hadn't been there when he claimed he ordered them. I'd never seen this guy before, and trust me, I would remember this guy. So I show him the order form and he snatches it out of my hands. I'm trying to de-escalate and this guy keeps cursing at me. I casually place my hand on his card and he jerks the card away. The most I'm allowed to offer is 50% off, which I do. He wants none of it and refuses to take the cupcakes, cursing me out. At this point, I decide I've had enough and go to get the manager on duty. As I walk back with the assistant store director, I fill him in on the customer and warn him that the guy's in a bad mood. When ASD and I get back to my department, the customer has the box open and is messing with the cupcakes. ASD introduces himself and asks what the problem is. I stand next to the counter with my best poker face on. The customer explains that he ordered them just so, and that I took the order, that I dropped them, yada yada yada. ASD offers customer the cupcakes free of charge if he'll leave now. He refuses, curses us out again. I'm never coming back to this store. And he leaves without the cupcakes. ASD and I just look at each other. I told you he was something. So ASD leaves and I wheel the cupcakes back to my department. All the adrenaline I'd been holding back released because I was concerned this guy was going to get violent. I know some martial arts, but I don't know how I'd fare against an angry fat guy who looks like he works with his hands. All the yelling and cursing and snatching things away had put me on edge. Once my hand stopped shaking, I made a note explaining why the cupcakes were still there and went back to work. About 15 minutes later, the phone rings. Guess who it is? Customer. I want to talk to the bakery manager. She's not in today, as I told you earlier. Customer. Well then, who the hell did I talk to? That would be ASD, the store manager. Well, let me talk to him. So I transfer him. A few minutes later, ASD pages me to the office. I was a little concerned, but nothing I couldn't explain. ASD gestured for me to take a seat. You're not in trouble, he says. That customer called back and asked if the offer of free cupcakes was still valid. I told him that they're not for sale to him at any price, and if he talks to any of us like that again, he'll be banned from the store. I'm going to have you write a statement and sign and date it just in case he goes to corporate. I do so, and then he wrote his statement on my paper and signed it. We chatted for a few minutes about it, and I went back down. The whole incident was caught on camera, further corroborating our accounts. Nothing ever did happen. I did keep a broomstick within easy reach, just in case he ever came back for vengeance for ruining his whatever. But I never saw him again. I was grateful ASD's a super chill guy who had my back the whole time. He saw the customer messing with the cupcakes and saw that he was trying to make it look worse. We did everything right. We were calm and polite, and he was looking for a fight. I'm just glad it happened to me instead of my more timid coworker who sometimes has my shift. I can take abuse with a straight face. I don't know how she would have fared. We ended up selling the non-damaged cupcakes individually in the case to get rid of them, so it wasn't a total loss for us. ASD got assigned to another store a few months ago, but he's still the best manager I ever had, and he's missed. And that was the only time I was concerned I was going to get into a fight at work. That's good, you showed restraint. Getting into a fight with a customer would have resulted in no amount of good. And our second story. Why do you need this much birdseed? It was a hot summer afternoon at the store I was a cashier for. It had been a relatively normal shift. Nothing great, nothing terrible. until she came up to my register. This tiny old woman had a giant bag of birdseed in her cart laying flatly on the bottom of her cart. Like any normal large item, I grabbed the detachable scanner and moved over to help her with it. Naturally, the birdseed wasn't on the side where its barcode was, because of course it wouldn't be. This is where my nightmare begins. I'm just thinking that I'll flip it over, scan it, and ring her out. But I can't budge it. This thing was extremely awkwardly shaped. It was heavy. This one bag filled up her entire cart and was stuck. I pushed at the sides, pulled on the top. This thing was so heavy I couldn't move it. So I called for a manager. And one of them, C, comes over. C is a woman who wouldn't break 90 pounds soaking wet. I explained the situation to her, and C buzzes a different manager, L. L isn't a big guy, but he's lean and he's helped us weaklings with things we can't move before. The old woman's just smiling at us sweetly the whole time, saying things like, "Oh, I'm sorry it got stuck," or "Here, I'll try and help you." Meanwhile, C and I are wondering how she got this birdseed into the cart to begin with, because she's about a head shorter and a few pounds lighter than C is. L arrives and he, C, and I still can't get this thing to move. You're probably wondering by now how 3 people couldn't manage to move this demon bag of birdseed. Remember how I said it was hot in there? Our AC had given out a few days ago, and we'd had back-to-back rainstorms for almost a week. Our store was muggy. The material on the bag was slick, so it was almost impossible to get a decent grip on this thing. And whenever you finally thought you had a decent enough position to move it, the seeds would shift, and it's time to look for a new spot. After almost 7 minutes of pulling, struggling, and eventually recruiting a 4th person into our struggle who'd just gotten out of break, we managed to get this heavy bag of birdseed on its side. I rang it up as quickly as I could to make sure I got the barcode while the woman was still good, and finally managed to check the woman out, took her money. There's another sale. This tiny woman said before she left my register, "I'm not sure I'll be able to get this in my car. Can you help me?" I watched L die on the inside, and he left with her. As soon as he left, me and C fell to pieces laughing. There were tears running down my face. C's face was bright red, and it took us both a good minute to recompose ourselves. This is where my involvement with the story ends, but not where it ends for L. It was oppressively hot outside, and he wasn't having any easier of a time getting this thing into the car than he did turning it in the store, even with the help of some cart pusher guys. Finally, they get it in, she smiles at him, hugs him, and sets off with her giant birdseed to parts unknown. I have no idea how this woman got it out of her car, or where she was going, or what she needed with 90 pounds of birdseed. But wherever you are, birdseed lady, thanks for the laugh. And our next story: bathing suits and biohazards. I spent a year and a half working as a manager in a clothing and accessory store back in 2014-2015. While I was there, I accumulated a handful of great customer stories, but none topped this one. I was the closing manager at this store. I was always the one locking up, closing caches, helping my coworkers tidy change rooms and refold clothes at the end of the night. As some of you in clothing retail might know, seasons come quickly in fashion. Spring clothes are often released in February or March, at least where I live, which is Canada. My store had put out their bathing suit line for the year in early March, which is still quite cold and snow-covered where I live. One night at work, I gave the girls the green light to start closing duties 45 minutes early. There was a snowstorm going on at the time, and the store had been pretty dead all evening. I decided I'd take the change rooms and worked away at cleaning the mirrors, rehanging things, the usual. Time flies back there, and now it's 10 minutes to close. Change rooms are spotless. Everything's ready to go. All of a sudden, a girl my age, I was 22 or 23 at the time, rushes in because she needs a bathing suit for her resort vacation in 2 weeks, in the middle of a snowstorm. I didn't mind. Everything was ready to go. How bad a mess could she leave in the dressing room? Shouldn't be a long fix. It's just her. She took her time picking out an armful of easily tangled, stringed bathing suits and took her dear sweet time trying them on. She finally left about 20 minutes after we closed with none of the bathing suits she took into the change room. Store policy wouldn't allow us to make customers leave if they were in the store before we closed. The girls and I breathe a sigh of relief that she's gone and head to the change rooms to tackle the tangled pile of bathing suits she surely left on the floor. We find a huge heap of tangled bathing suits on the floor, yes, but we also found something much worse. I guess she thought her used, smelly, bloody pad was cramping her style and wasn't giving her an accurate fitting because she peeled it off and stuck it to the wall of the dressing room. It stank. It really stank. There were no gloves to be found, so I had to wrap my hands in what must have been 6 or 7 shopping bags and peel it off the wall. We saw one bright yellow bathing suit in the pile on the floor with a skid mark, so we didn't even touch them. We just wrote off the whole pile and trashed it. I still think about this often. She was the only one in the store. Did she think we wouldn't know it was her? I don't think any of us will ever forget her face. I live in a small community and have actually passed her in public since this incident. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.